Okay, so welcome everyone to the Democratic Forum for the Forum for the Democratic County Executive Candidates. We're so thankful that you're joining us this evening. Tonight we have candidates Daryl Boffman, Jessica Fitzwater, and Kai Hagen. We also have Melanie Galloway, who is serving as our timekeeper this evening. We also have a few people that are working behind the scenes to get any questions that you might have. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We can't guarantee that we'll be able to ask all of the public questions that are being asked, but we will ask as many as we can. We also have two interpreters, Richard and Nikki. If you need the services of the interpreter, what you can do is look for the box that says Interpreter Richard or Interpreter Nikki. You'll see three little dots at the top of that video. You can click on that and then click on the word pin or spotlight. At this moment, I'm going to take a moment just to go over the format of the evening. The candidates have been notified of this format as well. We intend to ask 7 prepared questions. Each candidate will get 1 minute each to answer. Each candidate is given the opportunity for 2 rebuttals. When those 7 questions are asked, we will open up and begin asking questions from the public. There will be 1 additional rebuttal allowed for that portion of the evening. Candidates will be given 1 minute to do their opening and 1 minute to do their closing. We want to thank the Women's Democratic League, the United Democrats of Frederick County, the Young Democrats of Frederick County, the Frederick County Central Committee, Democratic Central Committee, and the North and South County Democrat clubs for sponsoring tonight's event. So let's just jump right in. And we are going to start with Daryl. You have 1 minute for your opening. Candidates, let me say this, because Melanie is the timekeeper. When you see her green paddle, that means you can begin. If you see the yellow, that means you have 10 seconds left. When you see the red, that means you have to end. If I see that you're still talking at that point, I will mute your mic so that we can keep this form moving. So Melanie, you're ready. Please hold up the green so Daryl can start with his 1 minute opening.
Greetings, Frederick County Democrats. Frederick County is at a pivotal moment in time with regards to the upcoming elections. We must forge forward with visionary leadership that can bring the community together as one Frederick. We need tenacious leadership determined to restore our public school system to a level of excellence while creating an environment where businesses thrive and grow. We need mature leadership that understands that affordable housing, growth, financial stewardship, and a strong economy are all interdependent. We need caring leadership focused on creating a community where our essential workers can afford to retire for the evening in the county they serve tirelessly. We need responsible leadership that safeguards the environment while respecting our residents' right to pursue happiness and business owners' need for profit. We need executive leadership that understands that well-planned and managed growth in every sense will ensure Frederick County can operate in this global society. My name is Daryl Boffman, and I'm prepared to listen, learn.
Thank you, Daryl. Next, we have Jessica. Melanie, when you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Fitzwater, and I am running to be your next Frederick County executive. I'm a mom of 2 little ones, an elementary music teacher of 16 years, and a 2-term county council member with 8 years of experience in charter government. I know what's working in our local government and how to target areas for improvement. I am committed to building opportunity for all in our community so that the quality of life that so many of us get to enjoy is truly accessible to everyone. Let's be honest, women get stuff done, and my track record and work ethic show that. I have worked across the aisle and built coalitions in the community by listening to what the needs are and putting forth legislation that's had a true impact and has been effective in Frederick County. I plan to take that experience, thoughtfulness, and passion for action to the seat of county executive, and can't wait to the topics we'll be discussing tonight so we can talk about how we can do that together.
Thank you. Melanie, when you're ready, let us know, and then Kai will be next. Go ahead,
Thank
Kai.
you, Mary Lee, for moderating this forum. Thank you to the various local Democratic clubs for sponsoring the event. And thanks to everyone taking the time to watch now or later. My connection to Frederick County was established as a child, exploring the Catoctin Mountains around my grandparents' farm. And for nearly 3 decades since my family first moved to Frederick, I've proudly served as an active citizen, a community advocate, an executive director, columnist, coach, county commissioner for 4 years, and a council member today. I'm also a husband, a father, and a nature photographer. I believe every member of our community, parents and caregivers, students and teachers, veterans, small business owners, immigrants, healthcare and public safety workers, children and seniors deserve the opportunity to pursue and live a meaningful life in a thriving, prosperous community that works for everyone. Local government has an enormous impact on our day-to-day life, and the next county executive must not only share
Thank you, Kai.
your values.
Okay, let's go into question number 1. We will start with Daryl. After I ask the question, we'll give Melanie a moment to put the green paddle up before you do your answer. Question number 1 is in the topic of affordable housing. What do you see as the most effective way the county can help address the critical shortage of affordable housing? Do you need me to repeat that? Okay, go ahead. You please unmute yourself.
We all know that affordable housing is the result of failed planning and development. What we need to do is take a step backwards and include developers and housing authorities with the county executive and other citizens and work on a plan whereby we can start allocating funds as we do with developing school systems. We have a portion of the funds from developers to apply towards building schools to handle the additional capacity. We need to start finding ways to bring money into a pool so that as we continue to develop in Frederick County, we set aside funds to develop affordable housing.
Thank you. And Melanie, when you're ready, we'll go to Jessica next. Okay, Jessica.
Affordable workforce housing is one of my key priorities. The latest ALICE report from the United Way shows that close to 40% of Frederick County households cannot meet a survival budget, with one of the biggest barriers being affordable housing. Solving the affordable housing problem is complex. We know that we need lots of small solutions, and there's not just one solution. In my 8 years of serving on the Affordable Housing Council, I have learned so much about the complexities and all of the programs and initiatives that need to work together to make this happen. I have introduced legislation that has resulted in the building of affordable workforce units at Orchard Park near Tuscarora High School, as well as getting a dedicated stream of revenue to go into our Housing Initiative Fund. I am committed to making sure that as county executive, we continue to add more tools to our toolkit of solving the issue of affordable housing, because every citizen in our community and every resident deserves access to that safe and stable housing.
Thank you, Jessica. Melanie, when you're ready. Kai.
Affordable housing's been a big priority for me for a long time, including the 4 years I served on the Affordable Housing Council myself. And I'm constantly researching what is being done and what's working in other places in Maryland and around the country. Owning a home or renting an apartment in Frederick County is becoming more and more expensive and out of reach for more of us all the time. And we have some very solid programs and excellent local organizations that are working on the issue, but it isn't enough, and it won't be enough even if we double that, if we're not utilizing existing and available land use planning, zoning, and annexation agreements and other tools related to how we plan and grow to get more of what's called the missing middle. A healthy community shouldn't be unaffordable for teachers, nurses, firefighters, retail workers, and the people who provide the services that make our community a great place to live for those who can afford it. It's not an easy problem to solve. It's only going to get worse if we don't collectively prioritize safe and affordable housing.
Thank you, Kai. Communities. Moving to question number 2, we will start with Jessica. This question is in the area of public safety. What do you feel is the largest public safety risk facing the county, and how would you go about addressing it? Melanie, when you're ready.
Thank you. Public safety is a core function of government. Everybody should feel safe in their community and feel comfortable calling for help when they need it. I'm proud that I've supported budgets that have invested in dozens of public safety employees over the years, but I also know that the intersection of public safety and mental health is becoming more and more clear every day. So I've been proud that we've enhanced our mobile crisis unit to 24/7, and we've seen our EMS folks work with the community response and looking for those repeat callers and helping to connect them to resources. So that's something I think we need to continue to build on to make sure that our community feels safe. We also have the Police Accountability Board legislation that's coming before the county right now due to state legislation. And this is an opportunity to make sure that members of our community feel involved in their community policing and they have the opportunity to have a voice in their own safety.
Thank you. Next, Kai.
Well, public safety is an absolutely essential responsibility and a top priority of local governments everywhere. I have a long, consistent, and strong record of support for our critical emergency response, fire and rescue, law enforcement, and public health services, and that is a part of public safety, including ensuring that these vital agencies get the funding necessary to support competitive wages and operate in modern facilities with appropriate technology upgrades, which is a big part of it. It doesn't get as much attention as it deserves, but proper planning, comprehensive planning, can have a very important role in public safety as well. I will also note that as a council member, I was the only one who stood with the firefighters when the proposed legislation to implement Measure D was drafted in a manner that did not reflect or respect the intent, spirit, and wording of the charter amendment. That doesn't get as much attention anymore, but was a big issue at the time. It was very frustrating, and we have to show proper respect and treatment for the people who
Thank you,
provide
Kai.
these services to us.
Daryl.
As has been said, public safety is a high priority for Frederick County and any community. We want all of our residents to feel safe, as well as our visitors who come into our county to feel safe, that we have provided the opportunity for our public safety personnel to have the necessary equipment they need to be successful in responding to any safety concerns, that we have adequate facilities, that there's adequate training. And as we know, Frederick County is a growing county. It's obvious with the growth, there are going to be more challenges to public safety. So it's even more important that we allocate the proper funding for our public safety personnel to be effective in continuing to provide first-class safety for the citizens and the guests of Frederick County.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question in the topic of growth. What do you see as the biggest challenge to sustainable development in Frederick County? And how do you plan to balance Frederick County's developmental needs with environmental considerations? Does anyone need me to repeat the question? Okay, so we will be starting with Kai. When you're ready, Melanie.
Frederick County is growing. How we allow and plan that growth will literally affect almost everything as it shapes our community and our future. And who you elect this November up and down the ballot will make these decisions that will impact you and our community. There are important reasons I do not solicit or accept campaign contributions from developers, and I'm the only candidate in the race in either party that can say that. In one way or another, I've been involved in every comprehensive planning process in this county for the last 20 years, in office and out of office. It's a top priority because it affects everything. As a council member, as a director of Envision Frederick County, as a county commissioner, as the co-founder of the Smarter Growth Alliance of Frederick County. I'm proud of the progress we made with the 2010 comprehensive plan. I was very involved with and strongly supportive of Livable Frederick, and we have been moving in the right direction a lot. But how we go moving forward, it's not about, we keep talking about going faster or slower, and it's really about whether we're even on the right road.
Thank you. Daryl, you're next.
But we all know that we live in a great county, but we're not the only ones that know how great Frederick County is. There's articles all over the place talking about how Frederick County is one of the best places to live. Frederick City recently won an award. So in essence, Frederick County is going to grow. We can try to shy away from it and try to become, contain a bedroom community type image, but it's not going to be possible. We are going to grow. So the best thing for us to do is to plan strategically for the growth. In other words, we have to be willing to work with the developers, with the businesses, and with all the other entities within Frederick County that are impacted by the growth that's going to occur. And so I don't see Frederick County as a place that should be focusing on no growth or not becoming a
Thank you,
Montgomery
Daryl.
County. Sorry.
The next question is in relation to, oh, that's right. So sorry. Jessica, you are next.
Thank you. Frederick County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state, and that's a good thing, but we need to make sure that we manage that growth. And the good news is we have a great plan to do that in Livable Frederick. The vision of Livable Frederick says that Frederick County is a vibrant and unique community where all people have the opportunity to live and work and thrive, feeling a strong sense of place and belonging. That is beautiful, and we have the recipe book to make that happen in Livable Frederick. But we need a chef, a leader that has the innovation and vision to bring all of those different flavors together, our community, our health, our economy, our environment, and to bring all of the players at the table that need to be there in order to make sure we can move forward and grow in a smart way. I envision a community dashboard where the public can go in and actually see how the progress is going on the goals and initiatives in Livable Frederick, and ensuring that our departments and divisions are aligning their strategic plans with those overarching goals so we can grow in a positive way in the future.
The next question is in the area of economic development. How should Frederick County's economic development plan change to both attract new businesses to the area and simultaneously support already established businesses? And we will start with Daryl.
This is probably one of my favorite areas because I really believe that Frederick County is missing out on a golden opportunity in growing our businesses in our community. One of the things I think we need to do is focus on who do we want to be as a county going forward over the next 10 years. The jobs that are present today, for the most part, didn't exist 25 years ago. So we have to be constantly looking forward and planning what type of businesses do we want to bring into Frederick County, and not only bring into Frederick County, but we can grow businesses in our county. One way to do that is to have an incubator program. Let's just say we want to be a county that focuses on cybersecurity. We can have an incubator program and start developing businesses and put them out into our community with that skill set. That helps us to attract those types of businesses that are already existing into our community. I think as a part of the Livable Frederick plan, we need to have a more detailed business development plan to support all of the programs that are going to come with the Livable Frederick plan.
Thank you, Daryl. Jessica?
Thanks, Melanie. I am proud of our Office of Economic Development and the work that they've done over the last 8 years. We have brought tens of thousands of jobs and major employers to Frederick County like Illume, Kite Pharma, Kroger's, and more. And we need to continue that effort. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we're also supporting our small businesses. As I've been out knocking on doors and talking with voters, the need to support small businesses has come up a lot. We do a pretty good job of attracting those folks to the county, but we need to make sure we retain them and that we create that support that's needed, not just at the beginning, but as they get to the planning and permitting office and the rubber really hits the road and they have to start applying for those permits. I think we need a small business liaison or navigator that can really be the person from point A to point Z to support our small businesses. We also have to strengthen our partnerships with the City of Frederick and all of our beautiful municipalities like Brunswick and Thurmont to make sure that we're exploring economic development as a county-wide initiative and continue to invest in workforce development as well.
Well, I've been fighting for
Oh,
Frederick County's
go
working
ahead.
families, artists, innovators, small business owners for a long time. Our community is definitely strongest when we have a dynamic and sustainable economy that works for everyone and effectively addresses the diverse needs of our community and our businesses. I think we're doing a great job overall, but there are things we can do better. Good planning, responsible budgeting, high quality public facilities and services are among the reasons that Frederick County has achieved and maintained a AAA bond rating from all 3 rating agencies, and why businesses and good employees are attracted to live here. That saves the county a lot of money. Under my leadership, we will do everything it takes to maintain that strong bond rating and to support the Office of Economic Development. I understand that our businesses, small and large, are part of a broader community, and their success and our ability to attract new businesses is part and parcel and inseparate from the overall quality of life in our community. And that means schools and attractive, affordable communities, good parks, vibrant arts community.
Thank you, Kai.
That's all part of
Daryl, are you
economic
asking
development.
to do a rebuttal?
Yes, I am.
Okay, 1 moment. When you're ready, you will have 30 seconds for that, but give us 1 moment, please.
So my concern here is that both Kai and Jessica have been in the office for quite some time. And one of the things that we're not seeing in our community are business opportunities for minority businesses, women-owned business, and veteran-owned businesses. What would you all propose to do to address the needs to make sure that we're all taking advantage of the great opportunities here in Frederick County?
Thank you. Moving on to the next question, which is in the area topic of schools. Regarding budget for our schools, how will you ensure both adequate counselors for our students as well as public safety officers to engage with students and staff and offer a safer environment for them? This question will be starting with Jessica.
Thank you. I have been advocating for our students and schools for a long time, and that's what got me here today. Investing in our kids is investing in our most precious resource, our students, because they are our future. And there is no time like the present to be taking that investment seriously. Because I've been a teacher for so long, and I am now the parent of an FCPS student, I've seen firsthand that the numbers in a budget on a page aren't just numbers. They're real students, and they have real impacts in classrooms. And those students and classrooms right now are overcrowded with educators and support staff that are hanging on by a thread because of what these last few years have brought. Not just the impacts of COVID, but also safety concerns and the impacts of some of the racial tensions that we've seen even very recently in our schools. The number one thing as county executive that I can do is fully fund our school system so that the Board of Education and the superintendent have the resources to invest in counselors.
Thank you, Jessica. Kai, you're next.
Every child in Frederick County has to have the opportunity to receive a high quality education. That means we have to invest in our public schools and our students and teachers so they have the resources they need to be successful. I have done that with 100% support in every opportunity as a member of the Board of County Commissioners and on the County Council. Frederick County cannot thrive or prosper without an outstanding and well-supported public school system. And the county executive is primarily responsible for the funding of that system. There's an elected Board of Education. There is Frederick County Public Schools. They make those other decisions. We have to provide the resources to make it possible. It's unacceptable to me that despite the progress we've been making, our county is still last in Maryland in per pupil funding. I'm committed to a 4-year effort to move Frederick County from 24th of 24 in per pupil funding to 12th in Maryland. That may not sound ambitious going for number 12, but it's a very heavy lift and it will require a major commitment. Excellent public education.
Thank you, Kai. Daryl.
Our future is only as bright as the academic success of our students. Funding at maintenance of effort level is funding mediocrity. We need to fund excellence. And you can't begin to talk about excellence until you can put a quality educator in the classrooms. Funding your school system salaries at the lowest level of the state will guarantee you that you will not get to the highest level of excellence in education. We have to make our salaries of our educators a priority. We can talk about funding. Funding is extremely important. We do need to make that a top priority as a county. And also, we need to look at ways that we can improve the respect of our educators in our county. One of the things I would look to do is to celebrate our educators as a county leader. Put them on the platform and show our community the great things they're doing and show that how much we respect them so that hopefully our community will render that same level of respect.
Sorry, I was trying to mute Daryl and accidentally hit something else. Jessica would like to do a rebuttal, 30-second rebuttal. Let's wait for Melanie.
As a county executive, it's essential to build relationships with the Board of Education and the superintendent. And I am so proud that I've been endorsed by the Frederick County teachers, the support staff, and the administrators, because they know that I have the experience and the vision to really make public education a priority, not only in our operating budget, but also in our capital budget and making sure that we're expanding school construction so that students have a safe place to go to school. I'm proud to have that support and would take all of that experience into this position of county executive.
Thank you, Jessica. Moving on to question number 6, which we'll start with Kai. This is in the category of other general. As it stands today, what do you see as the county's #1 issue, and what is your plan to address it in the first 100 days?
Well, it's not really in line with the way that I think about things, to think in terms of listing the top or the second or the third. We have a lot of things we have to do. And I think one of the things that's important is not to silo all of these different issues and attempts to resolve them. We have faced with a lot of challenges. Many of those are other opportunities, but it's critical to understand that these things are all connected. So we can talk about how important is public safety, education, 2 of the top priorities of any local government. We can always talk about how the decisions we're making as a growing community about how we accommodate that growth affects everything we do, from our budget and public services and facilities to public safety, quality of life, and everything else. But the person who takes this job isn't going to work on just one thing at the beginning. And I think it's important to think systemically and holistically and understand that both the problems that we're dealing with and the opportunities that
Daryl?
I think the first thing we need to focus on for Frederick County is to recover. Recover from an educational standpoint, make sure that our schools return to a level of excellence. Recover from a business standpoint, making sure that we're supporting our small businesses so that they can begin to thrive. There are quite a few that have survived the pandemic and are doing well, but there are others that are struggling. It's important to also bring our community together as one. There's so much division in our nation, in our state, and even here in our own community. We need to work together and become one community, working together to offer opportunities and a better quality of life for all of Frederick citizens and residents. So my first day in office is to, first of all, listen to what is being said, learn from what is being said, and then begin to lead. But there's a lot for me to learn before I can step out and start making major decisions.
Thank you, Daryl. Jessica?
One of the most critical roles of the county executive is to craft the budget each year. And whenever we are elected to county executive, one of the first things we'll have to do is to put forward an operating budget, a proposed budget. And so this is the perfect opportunity to listen to the community to help determine what those priorities are. We know that a budget the numbers, where we spend our tax dollars, that is the blueprint of where our priorities are. So I plan to take the budget on the road, go out to the different council districts, reach out through our community partners, and really make sure that we are hearing from the community about their priorities. Because my colleagues here are right. All of the main issues that we talk about are so interconnected. And so hearing from the community about their priorities and making sure that we're looking at those priorities through an equity lens, through a climate change lens, so that we're bringing people together and solving big problems together, that's going to be one of the top priorities and one of the first things that I'll.
Okay, moving to the last question before we move to the public questions. This is under the topic of climate change environmental. We'll be starting with Daryl. How will you consider our changing climate as you deal with existing water management, land management, and economic issues?
We all know that climate change is real, and we have to take actions to make sure that our planet is healthy for our children in the future. That means taking some pretty bold steps and initiatives to slow down what's happening to our world. At the same time, we have to be cognizant of the impact of some of our decisions on our citizens' ability to continue to live and be happy, as well as our businesses' ability to continue to generate profits and grow. Sometimes we can get a little bit too far ahead of things. A perfect example is with the electrical vehicles. When we come out with electrical vehicles and we want to get everybody to buy an electrical vehicle, and then we realize, oh, wait, we don't have charging stations at locations that they can continue to drive their cars a certain distance. We have to be smart about this thing. We have to bring in experts and let's talk about it before we start making drastic measures that could impact our success as a community.
Thank you, Daryl. Jessica.
We feel the impacts of climate change every day in our community. So when community activists came to me a couple of years ago to advocate for the declaration of a climate emergency here in Frederick County, I was all in. I worked with them for several months on crafting language that would make sure that not only did we declare a climate emergency, but that the resolution had teeth and would really provide outcomes and set goals for the county. Through that homework and that thoughtful and tactical approach, we brought on Council Member Hagen, and we both sponsored a resolution that resulted in the development of a climate emergency mobilization work group. This work group was comprised of dozens of community volunteers that brought so much expertise to the table, and we now have a final report chock full of recommendations to help the county move forward. I'm fully committed to moving forward with those recommendations and looking at the decisions that the county is making through the lens of climate change and supporting the Office of Environmental Resources.
Thank you, Jessica. Kai.
Our global climate crisis is real, and Frederick County is not an island. And I propose that we declare a climate emergency and talked about some of the other things we could do at speak in front of about 100 people at Hood College very shortly after this council started. I co-sponsored the climate emergency resolution. I thank Jessica for her involvement in that from the beginning. And we also established the climate emergency mobilization group that worked for a year to produce a truly outstanding climate response and resilience report with dozens of well-supported, well-defended recommendations. That is a roadmap for us. And I'm committed to advancing as many of their excellent and well-supported recommendations as possible, as soon as possible. And I will note, and to what Daryl said, it's important to realize that virtually all of the recommendations and everything that we can do in this area are for steps and changes that will offer real important benefits to our community, even if climate change wasn't an issue. They're improvements to our local air and water quality, our farms and forests, public health, economic competitiveness as well.
Okay, so we are now going to move to the public portion of tonight's questions. For those of you joining us, please continue to post your questions in chat, and I will be asking the ones that our team working behind the scenes have chosen for me to ask. Starting with question 1, we'll start with Jessica. Will you work with the City of Frederick to fund and place the West End Library nearer to the community than the proposed Oak Street location?
Sorry, Melanie, did you put your green paddle up already? Okay, sorry. Absolutely, yes. I think it is essential that the county build strong relationships with all of our municipalities, and I would continue to build on the partnerships that are already there. We do have the West End Library in our capital improvement program now, and it's essential that we work with the city of Frederick and the residents of the city of Frederick to gather input. That has always been our process as a county when there are new capital projects coming along, like libraries, to gather as much input from the community as possible. The current county executive, Jan Gardner, talked about that being one of many possibilities for the Oak Street property, but none of those decisions have been made yet. I truly believe in listening and leading through listening. And so being a partner with the city of Frederick on a project like the library is essential, and is just one example of how the city and the county could and should be working together.
Thank you, Jessica. Kai?
Same question. Oh,
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. Well, I think that we have to do everything we can to have the best possible relationship with all of our municipalities. We have a lot in Frederick County, and Frederick is only the biggest of 12. I voted against the Oak Street project at the request of the mayor and board of aldermen, because even though I thought it had a lot of merit, but that the process was being rushed and there were concerns being expressed, including serious doubts from within the community about whether or not that is the ideal place on the West End for a library. I understand that decision has not been made, but what I would say is that that is a decision that should be made not only with, but largely by the city of Frederick and the citizens of that community. This is not a small thing. We're talking about a library, but also potentially a community center and other things. And just in general, there's a great deal we can do to work better with our municipalities, in part because it's critical and in part because we have resources that a lot of them do not have.
Thank you, Kai. Daryl?
Unfortunately, I don't have all of the details associated with the situation with the library, and I think that that's okay. If you don't have the answers, it's better not to just throw information out there without being able to support it. However, I will say, as a county executive, the municipalities should always have the highest level of authority over what's happening within their community, and we would hope that those municipalities would communicate with their citizens to come up with the best plan for their community. And when you're dealing with a library or a community center, even more important that the citizens have the right to say where they can best access those facilities and be more beneficial to their communities. So yes, as a county executive, in that case, had I been involved up front, I would look to support that type of plan for the location of the library.
Thank you. The next question, we will start with Kai. This question is, the Frederick County Senior Center is doing a great job for our senior citizens. What additional ideas do you have to add or improve those services?
Well, I've always been very supportive of our seniors, of senior centers and throughout Frederick County. We have a variety of different arrangements and configurations. There are a number of them. There can be more, and some of them can be more larger or more diverse in their offerings and facilities or their hours, which is often a problem when they're co-located in a library or something like that. I was also one of the 3 people who voted to build the new Citizens in Montague, facilities, and I'm very proud of that. The fact is, seniors face a lot of unique challenges in our community, and they are the fastest growing part of our population in terms of age. We're way more challenges coming up ahead, and we're going to have the facilities and the programs. Frederick County has actually done a really good job in a lot of ways with transportation, with senior centers, with a lot of things in providing for our seniors. But this is a wave coming at us that we have to be prepared for and do more.
Thank you. Daryl?
You know, I look at senior citizen as a whole different term now that I'm about to approach 60 years old. When I was 12, when someone said they were approaching 60, I said, that's an old man or an old woman. But I have a whole different perspective now on seniors. We're more active these days. We want to do more. We want to get out and enjoy life. We want to go out and bowl and dance and run and walk and meet others. And so I think what Frederick County needs to do is, first of all, change our mindset of senior citizens. These are just active older citizens, not necessarily senior citizens. And so, I mean, when we think about senior citizens, let's change what we decide to put together for our senior citizens and put things in place that help them to live longer, to enjoy life better, and to be more vibrant within our community. And there are a lot of things we can do in Frederick County to improve that environment for our seniors. I agree with Kai that we've done a pretty decent job with the senior citizen home, but now let's get them out of those senior citizens homes into our community and enjoy
Daryl.
life.
Jessica.
Thank you. Our population is growing so quickly, and our senior population is growing faster than the state average. Was very proud to support County Executive Gardner's creation of a senior services division, elevating it to the division level. And I would also rely on the advice from our senior services board. We have boards and commissions that make recommendations on all sorts of things, and these are comprised of volunteer experts in our community. So utilizing their recommendations on how we could enhance our senior centers is critical. But we also need to make sure that our seniors can stay in Frederick County. That means they need affordable places to live. They need to be able to age in place. And so looking at enhancing our retrofit programs for seniors so that they can feel safe and be able to afford to stay in their home, and diversifying our housing types to make sure we have more affordable options for seniors is critical. We also need to take advantage of the wisdom and experience that seniors bring to the table and look for more ways to partner with them so they can give back to the community that they love.
Thank you. The next question we'll start with Daryl. Racism has been declared a public health crisis in the city and county. What concrete steps will you take to address the health inequities many minority communities experience as a way to prepare for future pandemics and health crises?
So I think a big part of racism has to do with poverty, income levels, and opportunities. And I think the best way to get beyond what we're dealing with from a race standpoint is to provide more opportunities for people to achieve success. One way of doing that, as I mentioned earlier, is giving more minorities opportunities to receive contracts with the county government. Developing more educational opportunities for these minority businesses. Because if you can generate wealth, and I'm a perfect example, if you can generate a level of wealth, you can pull yourself out of a lot of these things. I mean, you can afford to get a decent healthcare plan. You can afford to spend time with your family. I mean, there are a lot of things that come from the economic advantages and disadvantages that are happening in our society. Once we focus on economic opportunities for minorities, a lot of the other things will start to dissipate.
Thank you. Jessica?
Thank you. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted every single one of us, but we know it hasn't impacted us all the same. That it has impacted our Black and Brown families, our low-income families, and even more of a big way. And it has highlighted and shined a spotlight on the disparities that already exist in our community. Racism and the impact of race on public health is a crisis. And when you look at the county health department's community needs assessment and their local health improvement planning process, we collect data on this. And for every single factor that they collect data on, there are racial disparities. Over the period of the real isolation during COVID-19, I led a series of virtual community conversations on things like mental health, childcare, education, and small businesses, and brought community leaders together so we could talk about how we could support one another. And I participated in the most recent local health improvement planning process. I fully support the focus on mental health and adverse childhood experiences in adolescents. That's part of that process.
Daryl, I see you, but let me get Kai's answer first, and then we'll do that. Go ahead, Kai.
I am and have always been a very strong advocate for civil rights, racial equity, and social justice. In 2019, I began a very public process working with stakeholders and others in the community to draft what was then referred to as a racial equity and social justice bill. Ultimately, that effort merged with what County Executive Gardner was doing, and I was proud to sponsor legislation to establish the Office of Equity and Inclusion. One of the key things about that that there's many parts of it, but it was that it's insists that we're going to be looking at every piece of legislation, major policy proposals through the lens of equity. That's very important because it's not always so the direct issue that you associate with racism. We have systemic racism built into our community, and yet we have a sheriff who denies that systemic racism even exists in law enforcement or the judicial system in our entire country, much less Frederick County. As the next Frederick County executive, I'll be committed to staying actively involved with the communities of color or minority communities.
Thank you, Kai. Daryl, you have 30 seconds when Melanie is ready.
Part of the challenge is we're constantly talking about racism. There are not enough actions being taken in this county and in other places. When we have to be concerned that we can't even pass a bill for the Voters' Rights Act, we are talking too much as a nation. And I'd really like to see Frederick County take more steps forward to change racism. I mean, we see the impact of just sitting back and talking about it and not taking the actions necessary to change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to the next question, we will start with Jessica. We are seeing an alarming shortage of bed space at mental health facilities. What would you do to increase mental health support services?
Thank you. As I mentioned before, the local health improvement planning process that's been going on through the Frederick County Healthcare Coalition, the health department, the hospital, and many other partners identified mental health as one of the 3 priority areas for their next 3 years of planning. We know that mental health is a critical issue facing our community, and it expands over every criteria that you can imagine. So certainly looking at the impacts of mental health and on where we're budgeting, how we're partnering with our nonprofits that are focused on mental health, how we're supporting the hospital and our health department and other county agencies is going to be critical. We need to also partner with our school system and making sure that the budgets that the funding that we're sending to the schools allows them to have the resources to get the mental health support that they need. Making sure we're partnering with providers and listening to where the real needs are is going to be critical to impacting mental health in our community.
Good. Am I not hearing somebody?
Oh,
Am I
so
supposed to be-
sorry. I was double
Oh,
muted.
okay, I thought I had missed something. Okay.
No, thank you.
right.
Okay, Kai, when you are ready, there. Okay, go ahead.
Well, this is a serious problem all over our country. And we saw with COVID, you know, what it didn't just create problems, it revealed a lot of problems. And communities are trying to find a lot of different ways to deal with it. And we do have excellent organizations, good programs, good partners who provide a foundation for dealing with that problem. Ultimately, one of the things that's really important to remember is what we invest in mental health care in a targeted, intelligent way, guided by experts in our community and around the country. That investment pays off in so many other ways. The costs associated with not making that investment are much higher at the other end of the process for the people who suffer greater problems, have run afoul of legal, and criminal problems. It's a broad, diverse range of different concerns and issues, and we have to trust the experts, but we also have to provide the resources, and we have to make the investments up front.
Thank you,
To
Kai.
avoid a bigger.
Daryl.
As has been stated, mental health is a major issue and a major concern, and requires quite a bit of effort to overcome. Unfortunately, even now, mental health facilities are closing at an alarming rate. The best approach to addressing the mental health issue is to start with our children. Get them early so they can get through their educational process, so we can curtail a lot of the suicides that are happening with our youth, because we don't have unlimited funds to address every level of mental health. And we don't have enough mental health professionals to address every level of mental health. We should continue to address those other levels, but I think our priority right now, based on where we are from a financial standpoint and with what we're seeing within our community. Let's get these children the help they need first. Let's get these professionals into the school building to address those needs
Thank you,
and so they
Daryl.
can grow to be healthy adults.
Last question for the county executive candidates before we go into the closing. This question will be with Kai. Working with the agriculture community, given the fact that many farmers are aging and their children are not following their footsteps to farm, what actions would you take to keep farming a productive industry in Frederick County?
Well, that's a big question for a minute, but I will say, first of all, farming is changing as well in many different ways. And we have to start by making sure that we're preserving large tracts of contiguous agricultural and productive soils in our community, because that is not only a good strategy against sprawl, it's a necessary part of having a viable economic community in our agricultural areas, so that they, well, it doesn't work when they're all spread out, fragmented, et cetera. But farming is changing. We're seeing more smaller scale farming, more intensive, diverse farming, indoor greenhouse farming. We need to create an ag incubator looking at those sorts of new types of agricultural economic opportunities, and the people who want to do it, who are going to need the support to walk through the process, the training, and the assistance to make it happen. We also have to look at it in terms of climate change. Regenerative agriculture is good for farmers, good for our community, good for public health, and a critical component of dealing with climate change.
Daryl.
So I think we need to look at farming and agriculture for what it really is. It's a business. It's a business, and it's a booming business. Farming and agriculture touches every aspect of life, whether you're dealing with pharmaceuticals, you're dealing with clothing, you're dealing with just about every aspect of life. Farming and agriculture has an impact on. So as Kai Hagen stated, one of my pet peeves is we can do better by building incubators. And having an incubator up in Thurmont or in the North County part of Frederick County, where we can bring businesses in that are focusing on new and better techniques for farming and for agriculture, will help us to first of all, attract more young people into the industry, because as was stated, a lot of the older farmers are leaving, and the young people are not willing to take on farming in the old sense of the word farming. But the more exposure they get to new methods of farming and agriculture, the better we could be as a community.
Thank you, Daryl. Jessica?
I think the first thing we need to do is actually talk to farmers. So we need to ask them, what are your biggest challenges? Where can the county support you, provide incentives, and bring down barriers to make sure that your business can still thrive? Agriculture is one of our biggest parts of our economy. It's part of what makes us have a strong, diversified economy, and it's part of our rich history. And this is not my words, but I will quote somebody in the farming community saying, you can't preserve the farm without preserving the farmer. So preserving the farmland is critically important, but we need to make sure that that can stay active for generations, because the farmers have the tools that they need to respond and be adaptive to a changing market, to a changing economy, and to a changing climate. So making sure we provide support and resources and incentives for healthy soils and regenerative agriculture, making sure we're flexible to the needs as the industry changes and farmers want and need to use their farms for new uses, and making sure we're partnering with the Farm Bureau and listening to farmers about their needs. That's going to be critical for how we move ahead.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, I actually didn't lie, but I am going to ask one other question, which is a quick yes or no of each one of you. Will you, each of you, please affirm that you will support the nominee of the party, no matter who that may be? We'll start with Kai.
100%. I think we need to be very unified on this across the board and up and down on the ticket, because the difference between the Democrats winning the county executive seat and the county council majority and not are huge. We need to all be totally in on that.
And Daryl?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Democrats.
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were going to just say that. Go ahead.
Democrats is the party of the heart. We truly care about people. We care about our planet. We care about businesses. We care about everything that matters in life. And I love the fact that we're here tonight with 3 candidates who have decided to give our voters a choice of good people to take this county forward. So yes, absolutely. I would vote for either one of these candidates who are sharing the platform with me this evening.
And Jessica.
Well, the teacher in me is a direction follower, so I will just say yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, each candidate will be given 1 minute to do their closing. We will be starting with Kai.
Okay. Well, there isn't enough time here this evening to adequately talk about every important and complicated issue that matters to voters this year. But I hope after learning a little bit about my record, my vision, my values, that you'll take more time to look up more on our website, kaihagen.com, contact me directly, but learn more. I'm running because I love Frederick County, and I'm dedicated to protecting what we love about it, to maintaining and improving what we already do well, and that's a lot. And I have the experience and determination to tackle the evolving changes and challenges that we face to ensure that we can take advantage of and seize the opportunities that also come with them. I know Frederick County, I know Frederick County government, I understand what is working, and I know what we can do better. Frederick County can grow smarter, protect our environment, our history, our landscape, our small towns, our quality of life. We have to elect a good county executive and a good county council. And I hope that you will vote for me in November or in July or August, whenever it's going to be. We don't even know when it's going to be right now.
That's so true. That is
Yeah.
very true. Next we have Jessica.
Thank you. I am running for county executive because I believe Frederick County is so special. We have made so much progress, but we still have a lot of work to do. I'm running because the status quo, while it's working for a lot of us, it's not working for everyone. Some of you know that 3 years ago, I experienced a personal trauma of losing my husband unexpectedly while I was 32 weeks pregnant with my second child. And after the initial grief fog cleared, I knew that I was either done with public service or I was going to be even more committed to this path. And I'm so grateful that it's the latter. I realized after the fog cleared that what happened to me could have happened to anybody in this community. But because of my privilege, my education, my career, my support system, and yes, the color of my skin, what happened to me as a pregnant young woman who lost her husband could happen to anyone, and the results could have been quite different. That disparity is not something I can stand for, and fixing that is something that keeps me motivated every day. I'm so committed to this county and making sure we can make it a great place for everybody.
Thank you, Jessica. Daryl.
Thank you for this opportunity. And for those who may not know, I am a person who truly loves and cares for Frederick County. And I don't just say that. I've spent the last 30 years serving, volunteering on boards for the Board of Education for 10 years, running a business, running a campaign to be elected, and then serving after that. And I enjoyed every day of that service. I served on the board for the Chamber of Commerce twice to try to help businesses to change their mindset and allow some of the other businesses to thrive in this community. I currently serve on the board for Frederick Health Hospital because, as we know, healthcare, there are a lot of disparities there, and there are some great things we can do as a community from a healthcare standpoint. I'm running for county executive because I've developed leadership skills over the past 25 years as a senior executive, as a president, as vice president, as a CEO of a company. I would like to take all those skills and abilities and bring them to Frederick County.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Excuse me. Thank you all, Daryl Boffman, Jessica Fitzwater, Kai Hagen. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We truly appreciate it. At this moment, we're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we're going to go right back into our next forum with the council candidates, Democratic candidates in Council District 3 and 4. So let's take a 2-minute break. Everybody join us back, and we're going to start that forum in just 2 minutes. Thank you. for our council district candidates. If you are back, please turn on your video. We're going to get started in just another moment.
Mary, are you okay? Everything's good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Just I think it seems like some folks dropped off, but looks like it might be coming back again. So hopefully we'll let them back in. And for the folks who are on, just a friendly reminder, please put your questions in the chat. We will take a look at them, and we're trying to we will edit them for repetitiveness and for relevance. But we are pretty much putting everything out there. So thank you so much, and please put your questions out there once the next debate begins. Thank you. And please make sure you send it out to everybody so that the other team can get it as well. That's great. That the other members of my team can see it.
The interpreter Richard, I just saw your message. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so it is time to get started with our second forum of the evening. As I mentioned earlier, it is with the Democratic candidates that are in contested council districts 3 and 4. As I mentioned earlier, when we started before the County Executive Forum, the candidates are aware of the format this evening, similar to the one that we just went through. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for their opening and closing. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to answer the prepared questions or public questions and 30-second rebuttals. For the prepared questions, candidates can have, I believe it's 2 rebuttals. I want to double check that. Actually, yeah,
That's
2
correct.
rebuttals. And then for the any public questions, you will get 1. We will ask as many questions as we can during the next hour. At this time, we're going to start with the opening. But first, let me mention the candidates that we have this evening. We have Nicholas Augustine, Jazmin DeCola, Kavonte Duckett, John Funderburk, MC Keegan-Ayer, and Betty Law. So Melanie is going to be the timekeeper for this forum as well. Nicholas, we're going to start with you with a 1 minute opening.
Thank you. The executive and legislative branch of Frederick County is going to look very different next year. The new county executive and at least 2 new county council members. These new elected officials need to hit the ground running to assist in tackling identified issues. As a police officer for over 20 years, a police executive officer for over 7 years, and continuing to serve in the volunteer fire rescue service since 1999, I understand public safety concerns. As a realtor, I've seen our housing market favor the buyer and the seller side and understand the concerns of affordable housing. As a commissioner for the Frederick County Parks and Recreation Commission, I understand the need for safe, unpolluted green space. Finally, as a commissioner on the Maryland Commission of LGBTQ Affairs and a member of that community, I understand the need for equality, not only for the LGBTQ community, but for all marginalized communities. As the next county council member, I plan to address these challenges head on with our neighbors, business owners, and government officials. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I did forget to say, and I apologize, that as a reminder, wait until you see Melanie hold up the green paddle before you speak. And then when you see the yellow paddle, that means you have 10 seconds left. When you see the red paddle, that means your time is up, and I will mute you if you continue to talk so that we can keep this forum moving. Jazmin, you are next. Let's wait for Melanie to be ready. Go ahead, Jazmin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jazmin DeCola, and I'm running for District 3. I am a mother of 3 beautiful children who I'm raising here in the county. I am a business owner from the Small Business Administration. I'm also a community advocate from the immigrant community. I'm here to build a relationship from the community to the government, from the county and the city. I also understand the needs of the community, so I don't have to be convinced of the issues that the community are facing and what they need. I'm here also not only to be that liaison or that voice for them, but to make sure that everyone gets also and it's being part of all of what the government is offering, not only to certain families, but to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kavonte.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for hosting. My name is Kavonte Duckett, candidate for Frederick County Council District 4. Why am I running for office? Well, you know, I care so much about our county and the folks that live here and the issues that matter to you. I'm a husband, a father, son of Frederick. I'm a seventh generation Frederictonian, and I know the rich history that that Frederick holds, and also know a little bit about some of the dark history that is often shown its face. And so it is my hope to make sure that everyone is included in every conversation when dealing with county government. And the only way to do that is to elect folks that look like and represent those in our community. And so I hope to bring a voice of change, a voice of promise, a voice of progress to the Frederick County Council.
Thank you. Next, we have John.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Funderburk, and I intend to be your next councilman in District 4. I intend to preserve what we love, continue our progress, and make some things better. I am a Navy veteran. I'm a father of 5, soon to be 6, and I will have 3 kids in FCPS in the fall. For 20 years, I've worked as an electrician. Then I started a successful business as a consultant to small business, families, and individuals in managing financial assets. I am running for office because I want to preserve what we love. In agriculture, I want to continue and enhance our policies of leaving a legacy for future generations. In education, I will support and advocate the funding of our schools, increasing teachers' pay, and building new schools to ease overcrowding. In our communities, I will be a strong advocate for the livable Frederick blueprint to ensure smart growth that creates a high quality of life. To be an effective legislator, you have to know the history of Frederick, the current law, and the current budget.
John. Next, we have MC.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you for running this forum. This gives us a great way to reach out to some of the voters in Frederick County who might not know us as well as they would like to. And this gives us a chance to get ourselves started on our campaign as we move forward in this election. I moved to Frederick County 35 years ago. And at that time, my children were young. They are all now graduates of Frederick County Public Schools. So I know what the school system can do and how great the school system is. At that time, I became an advocate for the schools and for the programs and the capacity issues. I moved on when I was elected 8 years ago and switched from being an advocate to a legislator, and that is a switch you have to make. I have proudly helped steer through 7 reasonable, fiscally responsible budgets. We have made some changes in Frederick County, but there's more to be done, and I want to be continuing to make those changes and move Frederick County forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Betty.
Thank you. My name is Betty Law. I have an unusual combination of education and experience. I hold a Master's of Engineering in Electric Power from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and I have a master's degree in special education. Now, why would that be? I have 20 years as an electric power engineer. I worked for Con Edison in New York City and in DC for the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission investigating blackouts. At Con Ed, I managed large-scale, highly complex infrastructure projects with multi-million-dollar budgets, which I brought in on time, on budget, and the lights stayed on. In my previous career, I managed a special education program at a psychiatric center. I believe in providing a quality education for all our students. And through all my lifetime, I have been a lifelong environmental activist. And I have a deep concern. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go into question 1. We will be starting with Nicholas. This is in the area of climate change environmental. How will you manage issues such as water storage, stormwater, and protection of water resources such as our rivers and streams?
Thank you. Frederick County has been on the forefront of climate and environmental conservation, but there is still more work to be done to meet the several goals, to include designating 30% of our land as protected areas by 2030, reducing pollution from our homes, growing our 10-year ag preserve district. As a commissioner on the Parks and Recreation Commission, we have amazing parks and many exciting things to come, which all involves our waterways and ensuring that we preserve the waterways in this community. I'm a proponent of adding a climate environmental impact analysis to every proposed legislation by the County Council that will be included in our local government fiscal and policy note. We must look at the larger picture and ensure our policies are not hurting our delegate environment. We also must work with the Maryland legislator, who is currently working on 2 key bills, including the Climate Solution Now Act of 2022 and the Maryland Beautiful Act. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a reminder to those of us that are joining us this evening, please do ask any questions that you may have in the chat so that when we get to the public portion, we'll have those questions to ask. Next, Jazmin.
Thank you, Melanie. We need to understand that climate change is a crisis. And if we do not act now, we're going to leave it to our children and our future generations. Frederick County is doing some work, but I believe there's more to do. As your representative District 3, I believe most of the community do not understand about these issues. They're not involved at all. And we need part of the community to get involved. And how do we get them involved? Is education, letting them know what's happening locally and how they can get involved in the crisis. This is something very important that our community needs to be part of. How have they been part of? Has there any information being given out? We understand that most of them can do that. There's technology and knowledge that we can be doing and happening here locally, but there's so much work to get done. So I believe that getting the community involved as well should be part of this.
Thank you. Kavonte.
Like all counties in Maryland, Frederick County faces a range of environmental concerns tied to climate change, urban development, and the need to preserve and restore green space. Preserve green space. Across Frederick County, there has been an effort to restore waterways. As severe weather events become increasingly common, these and other flood water management strategies take on great urgency. I will support increased efforts to expand flood control and recovery plans that take into account current norms and projected climatical data. It is vital that we look to our future needs and try to get ahead of this problem as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. John.
Thank you. This question is too technical to answer in 1 minute. The basic answer is you have to get the relevant personnel that understands this issue and get them together with other experts so that you can come up with a solution. Right behind me is a Monocacy River. And Monocacy River recently over the past year has flooded to 27 feet high. We are in a climate crisis, as Jazmin said earlier. So I'm going to introduce legislation on day 1 to address that. One of those pieces of legislation will be to offer a tax credit for everyone who grows a garden on their roof. That has been shown to reduce emissions, and it can create a food source for the people that need food insecurity. In addition to that, I'm going to create legislation to ban styrofoam. The styrofoam is hurting our environment. So to answer your question, you have to have a group of experts, such as the Army Corps of Engineers, to be able to properly assess that situation and then bring that blueprint to the front.
Thank you, John. MC.
Thank you. Climate is an issue that's bigger than we can address in 1 minute, but you wanted us to address it from the clean water standards. So I will just tell you that the first council that I served on, we passed a bill to expand the buffers on either side of streams to reduce the runoff and filter the runoff before it got into the streams. I sit on the Chesapeake Bay Policy Committee at the Washington Council of Governments, and it's a regional issue. If we don't address clean water from the aspect of the entire region, it's not going to make any difference what we do in Frederick County. So I'm working with folks from around the region to address our stormwater runoff so that we can control the flooding, make sure that the water that flows into our rivers is clean, and so that we have to do less filtration and chemicals in order to make it drinkable. And then from there, we also need to make sure that, as Kavonte said, we're controlling our stormwater runoff, and we're working with the city to make sure that we do that so that
Thank
there's
you,
less.
MC.
Frederick, thank you.
Betty.
Thank you. The challenge for the next county council will be how to mitigate the negative effects of climate change, flooding and drought, increased frequency of days of excessive heat, and destruction from extreme weather. And these are all related to your question. After voting to create the Climate Emergency Mobilization Work Group, the county council should adopt its recommendations. They should consider climate impact when making significant decisions, including a focus on environmental justice, which also has to do with flooding. Expedite transition to the latest codes for building and land use, which has to do with flooding. Protect and improve soil health on public, private, and agricultural lands, which has to do with flooding. And finally, change structures between the cities and Frederick County to coordinate policies that put in place programs that create resilience and mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to question number 2, we will start with Jazmin. This is under the topic of growth. Will you commit to considering all development and land use decisions through a lens of both planned future growth, livable Frederick, and the economic and quality of life impact on current residents and businesses? And please explain your answer.
Thank you, Mary. Well, we've seen that, can you hear me? We've seen a big growth, a lot of diversity in the city, especially in the district. Would I commit? It will have to depend at the moment. I have to review everything. I can't tell you at this point that I will commit. I know that there's multiple changes that are affecting our community, especially with housing affordability. I know that's another topic that we'll talk about, but I will not commit at this point. I will make sure that all the community and the community members understand the choices if we commit to certain changes, especially to this growth. We have a lot of people coming over to Frederick. We have changes that many people are against and some are for it. But I would say at this point that I want to make sure that everybody is there. And when I commit to something, I will make sure it's clarity and we have a lot of opening for the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Kavonte.
Yes, yes, and yes. Livable Frederick provides a useful framework for consideration of development. Its intention to manage future residential, commercial, and industrial growth in ways that take advantage of existing transportation corridors and minimize impacts on agricultural preserves and green spaces. I will support small area plans that honor the goals of Livable Frederick, including the need to consider and mitigate long-term environmental impacts from new development. What this looks like in action would be county legislation requiring one-to-one reforestation for any timber that is removed in the course of development, not merely paying a mitigation fee, but a definite requirement to either replace or pay for the replacement of felled trees with trees of equal or greater lifetime carbon capacity. I would also support the use of surfaces for parking lots and driveways to help manage runoff and investigate ways that the county can incentivize their use in new development, as well as the replacement of.
Thank you, Kavonte. John.
Livable Frederick is an award-winning diagram that we all should follow, and I fully commit to following Livable Frederick. Currently, Frederick County has been developed only 3% residentially and 6% commercially. In comparison to Montgomery County has been developed 28% and 36% respectively. So over the next 5 years, you can expect Frederick County to be developed to at least 3 to 5% in addition to what we have today. So in order to do that, we already have a plan in place that has been vetted, that has been approved, and that has won an award. And we should follow that so that we can have good urban planning and good planning that preserves our agricultural land and good planning that considers our environment. To To continue to develop Frederick, we need the input of the community, we need the input of developers, and we need the input of our local residents. Thank you.
Thank you. MC?
Well, I'm glad everybody likes Livable Frederick because I served on the steering committee and I worked with all the community groups that were involved in the writing of that plan. So I'm glad to hear everybody supports it. It is a great plan. It's a new way of looking at growth and development in the county. And it was exciting to be part of that process. The only thing I will tell you from a growth perspective is we need to be mindful as we allow more growth that we are making sure that we have the infrastructure there that supports that growth. That means the school capacity, that means the road capacity, that means the all the fire and rescue services and police services and everything else that we need to make sure that our community remains a livable Frederick. But I think Livable Frederick is a great pathway in which to get there. And the council will soon be taking up the Sugarloaf Area Plan, which will be the first small area plan under Livable Frederick. So I look forward to working with everybody. Thanks.
Next, we have Betty.
Thank you. I fully commit to following Livable Frederick guidelines and also to look very deeply into Mobilize Frederick report, the Emergency Climate Change Working Group report. In terms of growth, overcrowded schools, inadequate roads, high cost of housing are significant problems caused by too rapid growth. But add to that the swings expected of storms and drought made more extreme by climate change. 26% of Frederick City's water comes from Lake Linganore. A drought would lower the water level to the lake and accelerate the growth of blue-green algae, which is hazardous to health. During a drought, the water in aquifers decreases, as does the water in the Potomac, two sources of our drinking water. The County Council approved expanding the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Resources and created the Department of Stormwater Management, which will also study what we must do to prepare for a long-running drought made worse by climate change.
Thank you, Betty. Excuse me, I apologize. Nicholas.
Yes, I would absolutely commit to Livable Frederick. As Frederick continues to grow 2% each year, the main thing we need to look at is maintain the infrastructure and government services to keep up with the growth. We also need to ensure we keep up with our capital projects. We need to make sure that developers are having housing and services for every stage of life for our community members. We need to ensure our school capacity is adequate, so every student, no matter if they attend Oakdale or TJ, is getting the same quality of education. We also needed to continue to advocate with our state and federal partners for improvements along Route 15, I-270, and 70 as we continue to grow. We need to have walkable communities as we grow, so you don't need to take a vehicle to go to services. You're able to walk there. So we need to continue to follow the Livable Frederick plan. Thank you.
Okay, the next question will start with Kavonte. This is in the area of affordable housing. How will you provide affordable housing opportunities to the underserved citizens within our Frederick County population?
No surprise that we start with me for this question. So for those that don't know, I am the director of the Allen P. Linton Jr. Emergency Shelter, which is the largest, the only homeless shelter in our county. And so making sure that housing affordability, you know, it is crucial. It is at the top of my list of priorities. But in order to build and maintain healthy, diverse community that is accessible to people of all income levels, it is important that the county work to expand the available inventory of affordable and workforce housing. But how do we get there? One of the biggest ways I think that we'll achieve affordable housing is SROs, single room occupancy. We can talk about building apartments. We can talk about creating tiny homes. We can talk about all these things, but in order, we have to take the first step. And so I am committed to making sure that folks are the most vulnerable people in our community do not have to come into the shelter, but we can move them back into stable housing. But it's going to take all of us working together in order for this to become possible.
John.
I've researched the every debate for the past 20 years, and every debate, every 4 years, affordable housing is the #1 issue. Why is that? Because we don't have the right approach. How much affordable housing do we need? How much affordable housing do we need to grow? Do we have specific metrics? If I were to handle this, if I were to look at this as I would look at a company to establish if it's going to be successful or not, I would ascertain, do we know what the goal is? Do we know what the solution is? What is the metrics? What are the guideposts? What are the benchmarks? We all talk about the need to solve affordable housing, and none of us are getting together and understanding what we need to do in affordable housing. How many affordable homes do we need to create? How many SROs do we need to have? Do we even know that number? We just throw it out there, and then 4 years later, we're at the same location because we didn't set a goal. We didn't set an end point, an end result. So as your councilman, I will have that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have MC.
Well, the county did a study and it shows that the best way to address the affordable housing crisis is through what we call the low-income housing tax credits, or LIHTC. Right now the county has already funded, I believe, 5 different projects, maybe more. We did the 520 North Market project. We worked together to do the Oxfiber workforce housing project. We have a workforce housing project going on down in Brunswick. We did a workforce housing project between Patrick and South, just off of Jefferson. So we are working to try and address it, but there's more that needs to be done. Part of our problem is we have housing that's being purchased, particularly in municipalities, that is being then converted into Airbnbs, which removes that affordable housing from the market for young families and people who are looking to get a foothold in the market. So we need to do something with legislation for Airbnbs. About 6 years ago, the county looked at it. There were not enough Airbnbs in the county, but it's the municipalities we have to worry about. Thank you.
MC. Next, we have Betty.
Thank you. How many of us could afford our homes today if we had to buy them at today's prices? This issue is especially difficult for seniors who must also contend with rising prices in food, gas, and other necessities. The senior housing should be available also throughout the county so that seniors can retire, in effect, to a place where they are comfortable and where they know people and where their family is. The Dearborn Senior Living Apartment is one example that the county is working on with the city. And in fact, I live in Dearborn and highly recommend this kind of action. It'll be financed with low-income housing tax credits, as MC had mentioned, which is for folks earning 60% of the area median income. The council should also investigate, I think, whether we would want to increase the low-income housing tax credit from 4% to 9%. This has been talked about as a possible incentive for builders to build more housing. And as John said,
Betty.
It's a business.
Nicholas.
Thank you. As a realtor and a member of the Frederick County Association of Realtors, I've seen the drastic inflation, not only in home prices, but also in rentals. In 2021, the average single-family house price in Frederick was $518,000, a townhouse $364,000, and a condominium $252,000. We need to work with the Planning Commission, developers, and associations so they understand our needs of smart growth and affordable housing for every stage of life. We need to provide incentives for first-time home buyers by restructuring our recordation tax, which is currently $14 per $1,000 sale price. Let's provide an incentive for first-time home buyers in Frederick County. Sellers are not considering offers that request closing cost assistance in this seller's market. So we need to make the first-time home buyers more competitive by reducing the upfront cash they need for closing costs. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to clarify something, Jazmin. Apparently I've been pronouncing your name incorrectly. I am so sorry. I will start calling you Jazmin from this point forward. So Jazmin, you get you're next.
Thank you, no problem, Mary. House affordable. Can anybody afford that in our district, specifically in District 3? And I understand the county has implemented some programs. However, I receive multiple calls often about people cannot pay their rent. And let's understand, it's not only buying a house, it's about rent, buying a house, having the money to be able to save money for a down payment, buying in this house market like Nicholas was talking about. How are we supporting our members in the community to have decent housing, a safe place to have for their children, a safe place where they can have a school district, a house where they don't only live there on the family. If you go back and look at the places here, at the Golden Mile, we go back to North Crossing, we go back to Whittier, we understand some of these families are living 3-4 families in one house. So we want to make sure that everybody also understands that there's programs and they can also have accessibility to those. And for me and for my people here in the district, I want to make sure that everybody can afford a house.
Thank you, Jazmin.
Thank you.
Kavonte is going to use a rebuttal.
30
You
seconds,
have
correct.
30 seconds and we'll wait for Melanie to be ready.
One of the challenges with this issue, when we talk about affordability, we always only look at rentals. I propose that in addition to continuing to work on developing and expanding the stock of new affordable units, the county undertake 2 new initiatives that can make a difference in the long term for current residents and property owners, as well as making an effort to increase the number of first-time home buyers among low-income residents. So we really have to make home ownership a piece of this solution.
Thank you. Our next question will start with John, and this is a question that was asked of the in the first forum. This is under economic development. How should Frederick County's economic development plan change to both attract new businesses to the area and simultaneously support already established businesses?
Well, I want to be careful not to. Frederick County has done a great job attracting new businesses. The county council has passed bills in 2016, 2017 that gave tax credits to businesses, and it launched an entire craft beer industry that is the best in Maryland. We've also recently had businesses, I think it's called Epic, to kind of speed the permitting process, and Frederick County is doing well economically. The county council has done a fantastic job under Jan Gardner to pass legislation to make Frederick attractive. That's why Amazon wanted to come here versus other places because of the policies that were set forth to make businesses viable and businesses do well economically. So, but there are some things that we need to tweak. And one thing that we need to tweak is the permitting process for construction companies to have a one-stop shop, because I'm hearing and they're telling me that it's hard to get a permit, it's very complicated, and it
Thank you, John.
provides. Okay.
MC.
So the council has, as Don said, we have passed numerous pieces of legislation. I worked to get through the commercial and industrial business tax credit bill that was actually sponsored by the county executive and our previous council president, Bud Otis. I worked to get a small business tax credit put through when on the first council. I also worked to get a bill through that placed a business enterprise zone over the Golden Mile area to give tax credits to businesses that were expanding or either their footprint or their employment base in the Golden Mile area. We also have an Empower program, which is a program that is a liaison and kind of a mentoring program for our minority business leaders and our minority businesses in the county. So we are working to bring businesses here. During the pandemic, we had over 100 new businesses launch, locate, or relocate here in Frederick County.
Thank you, MC.
Economic development.
Betty. Betty, you're muted.
Oh, there we go. All right, there we are. Thank you. We can continue to balance this very stable economy that we have by doing what we do well. We don't have to become tied to a large industry or business and thereby be held hostage by its fate or caprices. Small businesses can be supported by the Frederick County Office of Economic Development, the American Rescue Plan, or ARPA, which includes Small Business Minority Outreach Program, CPAC, and green banks. Businesses are attracted by a skilled workforce. We need a collaboration of the Office of Economic Development, the Community College, and the Frederick Building and Industry Association to develop training programs in new technology and sustainable design. We need to work together and we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nicholas.
At the start of 2020, businesses had no idea that in just a couple of months, COVID-19 would alter not only their business, but their lives. Luckily, many businesses were resilient through federal and local aid to help cushion the blow from COVID-19. As the community continues to move in the direction of recovery, future small business owners and entrepreneurs rightfully are hesitant to start a new business. In supporting our future entrepreneurs, the Office of Economic Development should partner with Frederick Community College in the development of an in-person Frederick Entrepreneur course. This course could assist students in navigating the regulatory processes on all levels of governments and build our future success. Currently, the Frederick County Purchasing Rules and Regulations states that government contracts are awarded based on the lowest responsible bidder and best value. We need to increase opportunity for Frederick-owned businesses in our procurement process by giving them priority to those businesses in their bid and be closer to those of non-local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yasmin.
Thank you. I am a small business owner. I am in different industries. I am a business consultant and I'm also a contractor. And I've seen so much happening in our economy here locally with the businesses. It's been very difficult for multiple businesses owners to access to capital, to access to grants for the support from the economic office locally. And how do we change that? How do we make access to all minority, women business owners, immigrant business owner, everyone who would like to have access to capital, who would like to have access to all of these programs that the county have created. Also for contracting, John was talking about the permits, very difficult. As a former business owner, a restaurant business owner, I understand what it is to have all these building permits and how I also pull permits for contracts. It's very difficult, and also how government contracts has to provide opportunities for everyone, minorities, and make sure that not only one type of people, one group of
Kavonte.
So when we talk about attracting and retaining, we want businesses to come here, but how do we keep them here? And that is what we need to work on, making sure that businesses come to Frederick County and they stay here, making sure that young people who are hired to work for these local establishments stay and reside here. It all goes back to affordability. So in 2011, I was granted the opportunity to work at the Gary L. Rollins Funeral Home, a local small business owner who took a chance on an 11th grade student, right? And said, yes, I'm willing to give you this opportunity. And because of that opportunity, I am able to sit here today. It opened so many doors and allowed me to be in places and spaces that I probably would have never been able to get to. And so we need more small business owners that are willing to step up and say yes to hiring young talent so that we can grow our county. And small businesses are the backbone. They're essential to our
Thank you,
community.
Kavonte. John is going to use a rebuttal. You will get 30 seconds. We'll wait for Melanie to be ready. Go ahead, John, 30 seconds. You're muted, John.
What I would like to do also is to change the dynamics of the Small Business Advisory Council that was created in 2021. They only meet quarterly, and to be able to quickly adjust to current business climate conditions, I feel that meeting needs to be monthly, so it creates a synergy for local small businesses to be able to respond and for governments to help small businesses quicker. Thank you.
And Yasmin will be using a rebuttal as well. We'll wait for Melanie to be ready. You will have 30 seconds. Go right ahead.
Yes, I would like to add that it's good to have businesses coming from outside of Frederick, but it would be great and amazing to have business starting from our own members of the community and having that support to build that within the county. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move to some public questions. We will be starting with MC. How will you work with the mayor and aldermen to preserve city green space and promote greener use of vacated properties?
So I think we work fairly well with the city of Frederick on all of their growth and development issues. But really and truly, I think people need to understand that the city controls their own growth decisions, their own development decisions. The only authority that the council has over what the city does as far as its green space or whether it develops or not, or its redevelopment, is when they are annexing property. Other than that, the county does not have a role in the city's decisions at all. It's all solely up to the city alderman and mayor. And they kind of get upset when we try and tell them what to do. I would encourage dialogue. I would encourage communication. And we do meet on a regular basis with the alderman, but we can't tell them what to do. It's against, it's actually a violation of state law.
I was muted. Betty.
Thank you. I agree with MC in that legally we can't tell the city what to do and kind of where do we get off. But both MC and I, if we were elected or whoever gets elected from those districts, also represents people in the city, and we can act as advocates. We can pick up the phone and call directly to people who are city officials and speak with them as official to official and say, this is an issue that has come to me, and open that level of communication. And green space is a big problem in the city because we're building like gangbusters and there is not a lot of space. Lots of space that had been, people had thought were parks are now going to be apartment complexes. So that is an issue and it's an important question, and I'm glad someone asked it.
Nicholas.
Thank you. I think the important thing is that we all work with the municipalities within Frederick County and have good relationships with those elected officials. So when we do call to express our concerns about a particular policy or development, they understand where we are coming from, because their development also affects our county infrastructures. It affects our roadways that lead to the city. It affects our waterways that are in the county. So we need to work together and express our concerns and come to an agreement and understand where we are coming from and understand how that's going to affect everything in the bigger picture of Frederick County. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasmin.
Thank you. We need to understand that as a resident within the city and the county, District 3 and District 4, we are paying double taxes, county and city. And most of the time, we are just thrown back and forward from the county to the city, and no one takes accountability. This is the feeling our residents feel, that the county is not taking accountability of what they have to do, and the cities do the same thing. As your representative, I will rebuild that relationship and make sure that everybody's heard, make sure that all of the residents are heard and they feel that way, that we're not just throwing the back and forward, that we take responsibility for our residents within the county. And if it's within the city, I will make sure that they understand that they have to do the part. Thank you.
Thank you. Kavonte.
Thank you for the question. It is imperative as a county council person to forge relationships with those who are elected to serve in our municipalities. We can't do it without them. They can't do it without us. And so it is necessary that that relationship be there, that I be able to pick up the phone and advocate on behalf of the residents in District 4. And that is what I will do. I will set up ongoing meetings with the mayors and town commissioners, the Board of Aldermen, to make sure that my residents are heard. And so it's going to take us working across the aisle, working together to make sure that everyone is included in this process.
John.
I feel that when you run for office, the the first initial kind of responses to try to tear down what's already happening. And we have a good relationship between the county and city already. We have great aldermen, we have great councilmen. They are working together really, really well. They communicate, they go back and forth. I know the mayor personally has said that he loves working with Jan Gardner. Jan Gardner says she loves working with the mayor, the councilman, and the aldermen have a great communication. So that's already been established. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. We just have to continue with what's already happening. And if you love Frederick, then you're going to continue the practice we've already made. We have a blueprint called Livable Frederick that kind of falls into all this purview. So I feel that this question is kind of rehashing what's already been working in Frederick. Thank you.
Mira, we can't hear you. Did we lose you?
Yes, so sorry. Thank you so much. I had already asked the question, was waiting for Melanie to put up the paddle. Okay, so this next question is for Betty. We're starting with Betty.
Thank you.
In what ways will you support new residents, particularly young families who are looking for growth opportunities and social programs such as affordable childcare?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have a hard answer for that. In terms of social services and there's all kinds of new, it's rather broad, there's all kinds of new families. If they are families who are in need, we have social services, and maybe they may not be adequate, but we do have social services and daycare and that sort of thing. That's all I can say. I really don't have an answer for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas.
Thank you, and I appreciate this question. I'm actually getting ready to start my family, so I will be in that childcare position in a year or year and a half from now when I have a young one. And what all my friends tell me is, oh, just wait till childcare happens and how much that costs out of your pocket and how it is not affordable. What we need to do is increase the number of childcare opportunities we have in the county, get more licensed childcare facilities that are able to provide care in this community, and see how we can work to provide subsidy for those that cannot afford childcare, so they are able to work and live and feel safe knowing that their children are safe in a childcare facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasmin.
Thank you. I really appreciate this question. As a mother of three, I understand what it is to be able to afford childcare. And I will say many families, especially mothers, have to stay home because they can't afford to go to work and pay childcare. How are we supporting this? How is the county supporting these families? Maybe they don't fall in the low income guidelines. Maybe they're making good amount of money, but it's very difficult still to pay for this childcare. How are we supporting, how are we giving this subsidy to these people that don't fall in the guidelines? And I believe that is very important, especially for families that don't only have one child, have maybe 2 or 3 children in their home, but yet, they still can stay at work, stay from home. And how do we support them? And I believe that it's very important for the county and the city to work together to support this and create a tax credit or create some sort of program that support this.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Thank you.
Kavonte.
So as a young father, I know firsthand the struggle of childcare affordability, right? I like to think that I am blessed because, my family has been in this county for so long. And so I have a number of unique ties where my son is being watched. And so one of the biggest things that I think that we can do as a county is to increase the availability of public pre-K. It is something that has to be done so that our kids are being able to be watched. We talk about the struggle of single parents, right? We talk about the struggle of single parents and kids growing up in these single parent households, and we expect mothers to be able to afford this rent. You have parents who are going to work every day, who who are opting to stay home from work because they can't afford childcare, which should be a basic necessity. And so we really have to address this head on and really recognize that it is an issue and it's a county
Thank you,
issue.
Kavonte.
And we have, sorry.
That's okay. John?
Once again, because we're running for office, we want to tear down what's happening. Jan Garden County Council has done a lot to have child care credits to poor families. But I would like to thank Jazmin for bringing up the next level of people that need child care is the Alice community. And those are people who may not qualify for the services of Frederick County, but child care costs is so expensive that it creates a huge problem in their paycheck. And so to address that, Head Start is a really good idea, but the children between the ages of 18 months and 4 for the household that has income that doesn't qualify, that's the families we have to address, and that has to come through tax credits and other services that will be able to address the Alice community. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. Thank you, MC.
Did you already raise the paddle?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the paddles. Okay, so there's several opportunities in Frederick County. We have great parks, and we have parks and rec programs for children starting from very young all the way up, and those programs are being expanded every year. We have great libraries, and we have great programs for our children in our libraries. Under the Blueprint for Excellence, pre-K will become the norm across the state. It's just a matter of time. And one of the things we have to look at is building the capacity in our buildings to account for those little children coming into the buildings, because the buildings are not built for 3 and 4-year-olds. But this is all, it's a process, and it's going to all start to come. And part of the process is building the space in the schools themselves. As far as childcare, yes, this is a huge problem. And it's a problem because people are going back to work. So that's one we're going to have to tackle. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So we are at the end where we are going to do our closings. But before I do that, I'm going to ask the same question that we asked the candidates before, but we really need you to keep your answer to yes or no. And that is, will you commit to support the nominee, no matter who it may be, for the district that you are in? So Nicholas, we start with you. Please, yes or no?
Yes.
Jazmin?
Yes, of course.
Kavonte?
Of course.
John?
Yes.
MC?
Absolutely.
Betty?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So at this point, we're going to do 1-minute closings. Betty, we're going to start with you.
Thank you. Not only do I bring the background of 2 professions to the county council, I'm very proud that my campaign team consists of professionals in civil engineering, chemistry, microbiology, hydrogeology, environmental science, small business enterprises, accounting and finance, healthcare, criminal justice, and a NASA scientist. If I'm elected, these friends will be available to me as well as all the other services to learn what I don't know and to learn quickly, because we have so many issues. I would like to thank my friends for their support in my campaign and ask you to go to bettylawforfrederick.com to learn more about me. Thank you.
So sorry, I was muted again. MC, we'll wait for Melanie. You'll have 1 minute for your closing. Go ahead.
Thank you. Almost 8 years ago, I was elected to the first council, and we have done some great things, but there is more to be done. We have passed 7, soon to be 8 budgets that are reasonable and fiscally responsible. They have moved Frederick County forward by hiring an additional almost 200 and plus emergency responders, which means you get help when you call 911. We have tried to address our school and our teacher shortages by giving additional money, $21.5 million last year above MOE to the school system. We have set up additional commissions and boards to hear from the community so that we can listen to them. We just started the Immigration Commission. We've got a Small Business Commission. So we are trying to address what we see and what the pandemic exposed as shortcomings in our community. much of this is going to have to be through ongoing communications, listening to the public, listening to the community, and outreach, because the outreach that we were using.
Thank you, MC. John.
Thank you, everyone, for viewing and attending tonight. Thank you to the Democrat Central Committee for hosting us. I appreciate the opportunity. And this next decision coming up on July 19th is very important. We have an excellent budget that creates a AAA bond rating in all three agencies. We have a budget surplus that just 8 years ago, it was a budget deficit. We really need to elect someone that understands what's the good that's already happening, preserve what's happening, but continue the progress going forward. I believe I'm the most qualified candidate to do that. So please go to www.votejohn4council.com to learn more about my campaign. I look forward to seeing all of you on the campaign trail. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavonte.
Well, first off, thank you all for hosting tonight, and thank you everyone for attending. Again, Kavonte Duckett, candidate for Frederick County Council District 4. Our community has invested so much in me that I've decided to give my life back to investing in our community. Service is who I am. It's in my heart, and it's why I'm running to be the next county council person in District 4. Daily, I work with the most vulnerable folks in our community. To see some of their success stories is why I go to work every day, and it is why I continue to raise my voice for those who have been traditionally left out of the conversation. So our campaign is about our families, it's about our schools, it's about our communities, and it is about our businesses. I will continue to give a voice to the issues that matter to the citizens of Frederick County. And I ask that you all vote for me on July 19th. Again, I'm Kavonte Duckett, son of Frederick County, and candidate for Frederick County District 4. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jazmin. 1 minute.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. Again, I am running for District 3. I am running for the community. I am running for diversity. I'm running for inclusion. I want to make sure that everybody is included in the table when it is decision making. I am here to be the voice of the voiceless. I am here to be the authentic leader for our community here in the district, not only for the immigrant community, but for the business community, for mothers, for those who are the working families. I am here to represent everyone. I am the face of District 3 because I am District 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas.
I want to thank everyone for participating, including the other candidates. Over the last 2 years as a community, we have seen the obstacles that can be put in front of us, but together we have remained resilient. We cannot predict what the next 4 years will look like, but what we can do is ensure that we have the experience, commitment, willingness to listen and work with others, and leadership from our county council to overcome future obstacles. I can ensure Frederick County I have those skills and a proven record of results for working collaboratively, not only with elected officials, but with the community. While the candidates tonight were given a brief minute to explain their solution, I invite you to visit nickforfrederick.com to learn more about my commitment to prepare Frederick County for the future. Thank you, have a great night, and stay safe.
Thank you, candidates, for your time tonight. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us this evening. I do want to let those of you that are here and that might be watching this video soon, that the candidates that we just had for Council Districts 3 and 4, all of them will not appear on your ballot. Only the ones that are in your district will appear on your ballot. The candidates for Council District 3, again, are Jazmin and MC. The current candidates for Council District 4 is Nicholas, Kavonte, John, and Betty. Again, thank you to all of the candidates for your time tonight. Again, thank you to everyone that has joined us. Thank you to our 2 interpreters for your time this evening, to Melanie for our timekeeping and all of those working behind the scenes to help put this forum together. We are going to be hosting another forum, which will be in person. It is scheduled for Monday, April the 25th. It is at 6:30. It will be at Cafe 611, and that will be with the State Legislative District 3 candidates for both the Senate and House of Delegates. More information will be provided about that soon. But again, thank you so much, candidates. Thank you for everyone. This video, excuse me, this video should be uploaded to our YouTube and made available for public viewing by at least Thursday or the end of this week. Everyone enjoy your evening. Bye.